Come and celebrate the holidays with Adam Carolla this December, Friday, December 5th at the brand new Santa Barbara Comedy Club. In Corona, California on Saturday, December 6th at Dos Lagos Amphitheater with Jay Mohr. And on December 18th in Calabasas, California at the Sagebrush Cantina, a live Christmas podcast with Brad Williams. Get tickets for these shows and more at adamcarolla.com. Reminding Mayor Karen Bass to fill the reservoir underneath her tree. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice. We're going to mandate you get it on. Chris Hansen back in studio.
Good to be here.
Always a welcome guest. So much crime. So many hours in the day. And it's an obsession with it. Chris was telling me off the air about Crime Con, which would be like Comic Con. Well, there's every con now.
Exactly.
But 10,000 people show up.
Well, close to that. And these are people who are rabid consumers of the kinds of content I produce, as well as many others. You know, the Dateline guys are there. I'm there. People who investigate crime, detectives, everybody from the crime world shows up at this thing.
Who are the consumers of the crime-related material? Like, I'm sort of picturing white middle-aged women.
Yes.
Is the predominant
This
crew.
is true. And I'm not sure exactly why that is the predominant audience, because personally, with the Predator investigations, the takedown investigations on TruBlu, I have a lot of guys watching that, from age 13 to age 73.
Yeah,
but women are consumers of it too.
I think there's this. Here's my belief. I think we need to have some sense of fear and some sense of jeopardy, and as an animal, like sort of as a species. And nature used to provide that.
Right.
There were wolves around and to keep at bay, and there was food that would kill you, and everything would kill you, and everything else. And there was no antibiotics. And so you step on something rusty,
Right.
you could die. Right. And then
Life was edgy.
we started pumping in a lot of air conditioning and,
Creature comforts.
triple glazed windows and patio doors and things like that. And I think people sort of went, well, I'm going to have to go outside of this to satiate that. And so lots of horror movies and things like that. And I think for women, that demographic is sort of, well, not rich, but comfortable people who don't really they're not staring street crime down the barrel. They're not running serpentine to the mailbox because some gangbanger's shooting at them or whatever.
Trying to get their check out of the mail.
Right. They're kind of, they have an appetite for that.
I think they do, and I think you hit it on the head. It's the fact that everybody wants to be a detective. Everybody wants to solve the crime. So if you can take people along on this journey of discovery, take them inside the commission of the crime, like we do with the Predator investigations, they watch it happen. And then in our case, you see justice meted out and the guy get arrested. You see that in the other crime shows too. And I also think that these stories at the end of the day are a battle between good and evil, right? These stories are as old as the Bible. And there's always been a fascination from the beginning of humanity with these types of stories. Who wins? Does somebody get away with it? How long does it take to track them down? What went into it? And what don't I know about this case? It's the ultimate mystery to solve.
I bring this up periodically, but many, many years ago, I was interviewing a dominatrix or a mistress, ma'am, or wherever she ran a place that took guys and beat them, and they put a bit in their mouth, and they pulled their women around like a cart because they were like a little pony.
Right.
And
that I don't get.
Yeah, I know. But I surmise that all the blue collar guys I ever worked with, they would go out and maybe they wanted a prostitute, but they basically wanted the best looking and the cheapest they could find, and that they'd be happy. But they didn't want to be beat with a cat of nine tails or put in a diaper.
They were very focused on their mission. And I worked with those guys too, hauling drywall. They knew where to go. They knew what to do.
Right. But it struck me, I was like, I said to the mistress, I was like, who is your demographic? And it's not poor guys, and it's not longshoremen. It's captains of industry. It's guys that didn't have these problems, and all of a sudden they wanted to be put down and called dumb and dirty and stuff. But it's guys who ran whole departments, you know,
Right. Well,
because in real life, when you work blue collar jobs, that is your life. You're being put down. And your idea of a vacation is going to a casino with a buffet and getting a prostitute. So it strikes me much like the crime solving women. It's not the ones that are in crime-ridden areas. It's the ones that don't really have predators in the wild that seem so enthusiastic about it.
Well, it's intriguing, right? Because you're right. It's not a part of their normal environment.
Right.
You know, yes, anybody could be the victim of a crime, and I guess that's what makes some of this so relatable, but it's not a part of their life.
Right.
You know, they're not getting their home broken into generally. Their kids are not getting kidnapped, but it could happen online. And so you want to know everything about when it does happen for a couple of different reasons. One, to protect your own household, and two, it's fascinating to go live in that world for a little bit.
It's so, I think the reason this stuff is able to fester is that it's so unthinkable to sort of normally wired people that it's why we got screwed in 9/11. I've said this all the time. You go, well, what happened? Well, these guys flew an airplane. Who would do that? Well,
exactly. It's a lack of imagination.
They go, yeah, but they're in the airplane. They're not going to fly the airplane into the thing. If they're in the airplane, yes, they are.
Yeah.
Like, no, come on, who would do that? These guys have families.
These guys would do
you know
it,
what I mean? So to lay people, we sit around and go, who would do this? No one. I don't know who would do this. I would never do it. So it seems so exotic that it almost gets swept under the rugs.
Well,
or
I also think when you see somebody committing a crime like this, in a recent sting, we had a doctor, 41 years old, you know, a kidney specialist. He's chatting online.
Is that the one from the pool party?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So those were other guys, but the pool party guys. Right. The whole way, the one of them is saying, "Is this a Chris Hansen sting? Is this a Chris Hansen sting?" Sends the decoy an article from the newspaper saying, you know, the local sheriff works with Chris Hansen sometimes down here, and still shows up. Mm-hmm. And they're like two bears in a pool, thinking that they just, you know, hit a home run here until I walk out. And then the whole party changes.
God, I would find that so marvelously uncomfortable. I wouldn't know what to do. I'd have weird...
Jerry Lee and Lyric were the two guys.
Who showed up to the
pool party. Now, the doctor, you know, was another strange thing because, you know, the guy says he's a doctor. Is he really a doctor? We do the background on him. Maybe he is. He's driving. Is he actually going to show up? It's the last guy on a 3-day sting. He would be the 12th or 13th guy to show up over 3 days. And it's taking forever, and he's lost in traffic. It's if he's a doctor, how can he, you know, be so dense as to not to find the place? Well, just as we're about to give up, and he's wearing his fleece that has the medical center where he practices medicine as a kidney specialist on his fleece. Walks in, he sees the undercover sheriff's employee posing as the girl, big hug, you know, and sits down on the couch and tries to explain to this alleged 15-year-old what he does for a living, which goes on and on and on until I decide to interrupt the conversation and bring him to the kitchen table.
I was speaking about it on this show because how things have changed. It reminded me with the Megyn Kelly stuff, and Megyn Kelly was trying to do this sort of inelegantly worded Weinstein thing. She said Epstein, sorry. She said barely legal. And I was sort of saying, I think she's talking about that magazine, Barely Legal. And then I realized there was a magazine that was popular called Barely Legal from, I looked it up, 1993 was its inception. But we have, that would not fly today. You could not go to a 7-Eleven and buy a version of a magazine called Barely Legal today.
People of age posing as children. Right. I mean, to me, that's like AI child porn.
Yes.
You know? And there's a reason why that's illegal. But, you know, the Epstein case, I mean, we are still. I was at my wife and I went to an awards dinner for a group called Child USA, and their job is to lobby in different states to make sure that the statute of limitations doesn't run out on victims like the victims of the Epstein case. And we're going to have some of these survivors and some of the people who represent them on my podcast, Have a Seat with Chris Hansen, coming up. But there is still a lot we don't know about the Epstein case.
Well, what's your head on it as someone who knows the territory pretty well? I am happily know nothing about this subject, and I know that when somebody gets sexually molested or abused or something, they end up taking it out sexually. Oftentimes, you oftentimes create another abuser,
right? Another generation,
and
of abusers.
That's the insidious part of this. But I don't know the whole Epstein thing. I have no thoughts about. I really don't know anything.
This is a guy, based upon what I've seen, and I've followed it. I'm not by any means the Epstein expert. That's up to Julie K. Brown and the team at the Miami Herald who broke all this stuff and got these survivors to speak out, which allowed the federal government, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, to prosecute these cases. And the fact that they were able to get these people to speak out. They thought that they would never get their say because this guy was so wealthy and so powerful and was so on the inside with all these people. I remember the 2008 case, he basically got a slap on the wrist. He had to do, weekends in the county jail. And then he gets out and he's accepted by all these people. But this was a guy who had a propensity for youngish girls who would find them in vulnerable situations, Ghislaine Maxwell recruiting in some cases and others, and get them in and say, okay, you're just going to be a massage therapist, right? And then incrementally, in order to get excited, he kept going younger, 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 younger. So the first rap on him was, okay, these girls were right on the edge of being legal and they're being paid for their services. It's grotesque, but maybe it wasn't a classic predator case, but it was. And it built to that because he had underage girls in there who were abused, who were not believed because a wealthy, powerful guy would say, she's lying, didn't happen.
Well, he was connected as well.
He was connected. Well, look at all the Prince Andrew stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, he's toast now. He thought he was going to get away with it. And that interview he did with the BBC
several years ago,
a couple years ago, was disastrous.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, talk about the height of arrogance.
He made one point.
Right?
One point in that
I
is
don't
that
know her.
In the
what about that picture over there?
Falklands Island, campaign or whatever he was in, he did explain that he lost his ability to produce sweat. He couldn't sweat,
right?
Which is an interesting thing. But I just thought the one chance he had was, look, if I could sweat, don't you think I'd be sweating right now? Because you got a light and a camera in my face, and we're sitting there talking about me being a pedophile, essentially. But that was years ago. I mean, that was 8 or 10 years ago or something now. Then he sort of hung around, and now he's gone.
He's not in the
Tower of
family.
London or something?
He's not in the Tower of London, but he's living, in the in-laws' quarters, off property.
It is funny when you have a job
the boot.
where essentially you just have to move quarters.
Yeah.
I lived in my dad's garage in North Hollywood, but that wasn't me shifting quarters per se.
Yeah.
But so who do you think, first off, you look at the flight logs, and as a guy who's flown on Mark Garagos's plane 24 times, sometimes with him and sometimes without him, I can tell you nobody says no to a free private flight.
Well, I think that's how he lured some of these people.
I'm not going to judge Tom Hanks or whomever for being on a free flight, because I've done it a million times. You don't vet the person's scruples and morals.
Right.
There's plane you're playing on. You just go, thanks for the ride.
I'm sure, had people known more about
but going
this.
to the island is different than catching a ride somewhere else.
Well, that's exactly right. Or if you're going to an AIDS conference in Africa, there's some, good reason to be going there. And again, that first case, the case where he did the country club county jail sentence, where he got the sweetheart deal, that was not highly publicized.
No.
I mean, it was around there. I remember in 2015, 2016, some guys and former law enforcement guys who were working for lawyers in this case, I had several meetings with them, and I tried to figure out a way to formulate a sting to see if we could do something and expose this guy if, in fact, he was continuing this activity, which they suggested he was. But the layers of security and to get in and to figure it out, it wasn't feasible to do. I was thinking too big about it, as opposed to doing what the Miami Herald did, was just chipping away, and get these interviews and getting these people to go on the record. That was the way to go about that particular story. There wasn't an element, at least that I could come up with at the time, 10 years ago, where we could do a hidden camera type investigation.
And what's your take on the sort of politicizing of it? Like there's all kinds of talk about it. The Democrats don't want it to come out. The Republicans don't want it to come out. Well, why didn't Biden release it when he was in charge? Then if they wanted it to come out, like, are there names on there? And are there names that are going to be eye-opening to people? Or have we already sort of thrown the names around?
I think the names have been thrown around. Now, I could be surprised on this. And as I mentioned, we're digging around in it to see if there's anything more that's shocking, surprising, or that people need to know about. And if I come across it, you'll be among the first to hear about it. But I think a lot of it has been out there, at least talked about, and already been in the press. It's not every investigation conducted by the FBI, do they at some point release all the files? Right. There's been this hue and cry in this particular case because there are suspicions on both sides. And yes, both sides are politicizing it.
Aura. Well, if you're like me, you may be a last-minute shopper. The panic, empty shelves, running out of ideas. That's why I love Aura frames. Perfect for personal gifts that really hits home. I mean, you get a little older, you have some money, you have stuff. You want stuff personalized. Always struggle finding the right gifts for the people who have everything. But an Aura frame, they get unlimited photos and videos straight from their phone all year long. You can preload photos before it even ships, personalize it with a message, and the gift box comes premium with no price tag. Setting it up is a breeze. Just download the app, connect to Wi-Fi, and boom, memories flowing right through the screen. I've been using mine for a while now. I have rotating photos I have every great guest that's ever been on the show, and I just put it right out front of the studio, and I walk in and I look at it and I go, oh, yeah, that's sweet. Remember that? Fluffy, Kevin Costner, all those guys. Anyway, you can't wrap togetherness, but you sure can frame it. Aura, right, Dawson?
For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames. Named #1 by Wirecutter by using promo code Carolla at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code Carolla. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Brunt workwear. Before Brunt, my boots used to beat the hell out of my feet all day. Taking them off felt like some kind of punishment. Too hard, man. Then I slipped in a pair of Brunt work boots. Right out of the box. Instant comfort. None of the painful break-in nonsense other boots give you. I remember back in the day even like putting mink oil and stuff on the boots. Now, not with Brunts. It's right there. These boots aren't just comfy. They're durable and they're protective. Exactly what you need on tough job sites. Check this out. See this boot? Yeah, these are the Omen boots. Brunt, it's their best-selling work boots. They're lightweight, water-resistant, slip and oil-resistant, heat-resistant, even rated for electrical hazards. I love these boots. Feel like sneakers when you put them on. They don't feel like work boots, and they give you a ton of protection. Join over 500,000 other guys who swear Brunt boots, and they're free shipping If you know a hardworking guy, these make the perfect gift, and it'll keep them comfortable all day. Am I right, Dawson?
With temps dropping and the holidays coming up, it's time to treat yourself or the hardworking man in your life to real comfort. Skip the throwaway gifts and get him something built to last. Brunt Workwear. Our listeners get $10 off their entire order with code ADAM at checkout. That's BRUNT workwear.com and use code ADAM. Order today and let them know you heard it on the show.
In your experience, one doesn't dabble in this. It's kind of a thing, right? Like it's your thing or it's not your thing.
Well, it's a thing for Jeffrey Epstein. And it was a thing for some of the others involved in it. But if you're on the periphery in the Palm Beach world and all you know is that there's a multimillionaire, close to a billionaire, who's a bachelor and he's got a private jet and he's got an island. If you're another single guy who's wealthy, you might nose around and see what this guy's got going on. Now, once you find out that it's evil and it involves the exploitation of underage girls, then you have some duty to blow the whistle.
Yeah.
At the very least, to just disassociate yourself, which is what Donald Trump has always said that he did. Once he figured out this was creepy stuff, he got out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. You'll notice guys have a preference. Like I was thinking about John Derek. John Derek, I don't know exactly what it was, a film director, married Bo Derek.
Right.
Bo Derek's name's Bo Derek because it's Bo
10.
Derek.
She was a 10.
She was a 10. A funny movie back in the day. But
Sure.
the point is when you look at Linda Evans and all the people he dated, they look like carbon copies of each other. And they would age out. And then he'd kick out the 38-year-old and get the 18-year-old. Right. But you go, I know what that guy's into.
Right.
And that's what it is. And he didn't shift that much. It's not like, well, in between he dated Whoopi Goldberg and then he went back to Linda Evans type. He just had a type.
Yep.
And guys are gay, guys are straight, guys are boob guys and ass
like
guys.
Blondes, guys like redheads.
They have
guys
a
like
type.
brunettes,
And I would say Trump's type are great-looking model women, blonde, usually. But usually, if you've been in the public eye for a long time, you kind of declare a major, and your type starts to, Robert De Niro dates African-American women.
Right.
So that's his type. Okay, fine, his type. But I don't know if you can hang out in the public eye for 40 years and be into underage chicks and have it not
leak
take
out
a
someplace.
form, a theme at some point.
Well, it's criminal activity.
Right. So, we knew what Epstein was up to, but I'm looking for a theme with the other guys, and Trump's theme is just sort of Euro hot.
Right. And look, no one has said to me or no one has said to anyone who's in my business who's reported on it that Trump engaged in this sort of thing. I think he just, what happens sometimes is these guys say, once we get into power, we're going to release it all, we're going to do it all, and gets the base all wound up, and then they get there and they're expecting all this stuff, almost like a Pizzagate type thing.
Right.
And when they get there, there's no more there than what we already knew about.
Yeah.
And then there's this disappointment and allegations of a cover-up, and what are they hiding? And, now they've said, go ahead and release all this stuff, and we'll see if that happens.
Do you think he killed himself in his prison cell?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Yeah, I've heard a little Dr. Bowden or whatever, which I used to watch. You ever watch that show?
Yeah, sure.
I've
met him, Michael Bowden. He's
the best. It was a series. Maybe it was on HBO back in the day. I'm trying to think. All the macabre, crazy stories, but the best was the sort of professor with the young bride, and she died young, and he exhumed her and brought her back.
I remember this.
And was like reanimating her as best he could, turned into a sex doll, essentially. Yeah. And at some point they found out what he was doing, and they went and buried her again, and he went and got her again. And they were just sort of matter-of-factly discussing what he was doing, but something with a silk sleeve in the vaginal tube or something like that. Like it was, as creepy
How do you
as
even
you could get.
think that up?
You know,
I mean, that's a broken, dark, twisted human being.
Well, the thing,
I mean, and by the way,
yes.
I've seen that scenario before in local news and afterwards reporting. People have, exhumed on their own dead bodies and used them in ritualistic sexual ways.
It's kind of a thing.
It's unimaginable to most of us, but it's happened.
It's kind of the Aaron Hernandez thing, which is like you go, that guy is a young, hot NFL star, good looking, rich, big contract. What's he doing with these gangbangers and it's like, that's who he is, man.
Right.
That's the answer. That's who he is. And this guy's, he'll throw it all away to he's got a career. He's a physician. Right. He's noted in the community. Why would you risk? And it's like, that's what it is.
You can't help it.
No.
I think at some level, you're right.
No, but also I feel like the sexual compunction part of life transcends all that. I mean, people don't take, they go, I'm not going to drive without auto insurance. Like, I'm not doing it. I can't take that. What if somebody got hurt and I got my home taken away or something? They'll be pretty responsible in many facets of life, like the doctor may have been. Well, but when it comes to this,
these guys compartmentalize too.
Yes,
I mean they have their freak. They do this and they operate in a regular part of life. I mean, look at this coach in Virginia.
Yeah, what is that story?
Well, the story is that.
Is it high school?
It's a high school in Virginia, and he had an undefeated season. He's been in the football program for many years. His son came through the system. I think his dad was a coach, a sports coach in the same jurisdiction. And as they're wrapping up this undefeated season, suddenly law enforcement wants to talk to him about allegations of having child pornography and solicitation of a minor online. So they're going over there to interview the guy, and he disappears. We now hear that he went off into the woods with a gun. So I'm doing the criminal math here. I suspect they're going to find a body someplace.
Travis Turner's his name.
Yes, Travis Turner, exactly. And so the worried, grief-stricken wife is trying to figure out what the hell is going on. The school district's trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And his poor kids are trying to figure out and come to terms with
his players or his kids.
He has children of his own. He's been happily married for 25 years. So imagine that poor woman. This is what I always talk about, the collateral damage.
Oh.
What happens to the wife, the girlfriend, the children of these guys that get caught up in my investigations. And that's what really rocks me and disturbs me the most. These people are left to pick up this mess that this guy was able to create and leave them in the wake of.
Well, here's a weird philosophical, hypothetical question. Would you have more respect for a guy who just went off to the woods and killed himself, leaving his kids behind, versus a guy who just brought it to trial, thus putting his kids through the trial, essentially, and having to deal with that?
I have mixed emotions about that. I understand that it might be a noble thing to say, look, I'm a horrible human being. I'm going to end my life and save my family the grief of going through this process. I think the criminal justice system and the victims, the survivors, are left without justice because he was not held accountable and forced to go to prison and deal with the scenario that these guys often deal with, which is the true punishment and the true measure of justice, I think, for these guys who commit these crimes. I mean, they're treated in a whole different way in prison.
Is there any such thing as a guy entering the penal system and not having everybody in the prison know what he was in for?
I don't think that happens.
It doesn't, but why isn't it doable?
Because everybody wants to know. You talk to J.D. DeLay, right? He's a content creator. I've had him on my shows. He's a great guy. Spent, a decade and a half in crime and cleaned up his life, got it together. He'll tell you stories about prison. The first thing these guys do is, where's your papers? What are you in for? And they want to know. We had a guy, remember the rabbi got caught in one of the early predator investigations? He goes to federal prison for 6.5 years. Bench trial, they find him guilty. And nobody really knows what he did. Well, all the inmates are in the cafeteria watching Predator Raw, the extended versions of that show on MSNBC, and his episode comes up.
Oh, boy.
So he had a rough go after they figured that out.
I just, I find it interesting that in prisons, they got cell phones, they get drugs, everyone knows your rap sheet. Like it's insane what will do. Like you go, wait a minute, why do these guys have cell phones? It's like, they bribe the guard brings them in.
Mark Garagos about this. I had him on my show, and we talked about the Menendez brothers and the infraction that, was perhaps slowing down that process. And I was shocked, right? It takes a lot to shock me.
Yes.
But I was shocked at how prevalent the cell phones are in the prison system.
Yes.
Apparently it's sort of like a, wink and a nod secret that these, if these inmates aren't causing problems in other ways, they will be able to sneak in a cell phone and they'll be able to communicate or text or do whatever with the outside.
Well, somebody made sense of something once when I was talking to somebody, prison guard or something, and I just said conjugal visits. Like Tex Watson had 4 kids from inside the joint. I think he sired 4 kids. He's a Manson killer,
right?
And he has 4 kids. I go, I don't like that conjugal visit. I don't want this guy having kids inside. And the only time anyone ever made sense of it, they go, the guard or whatever went, I know you don't like it, but it keeps them right. Because if A, keeps them from boiling over, but B, we get to use it.
Right.
Like you get out of line, we're going to cancel your conjugal visit.
Yeah. It's like having the death penalty for certain crimes. The prosecutor has a tool to say, look, you can plead guilty to this and do this, or we're going to go to trial with the death penalty. Up to you. It's a hammer over a criminal's head.
Yeah, the Luigi Mangione thing's going on out there right now. And the latest is they went through his backpack, but didn't get a warrant. But then the rule, for those who want to know, is anything within your reach they can kind of go through. And it makes sense. You think could have explosives in his backpack.
Well, let me give you an example. The same sting that we did in Louisiana where the doctor showed up and the pool party guy showed up, a young guy walked in, 20 years old, was going to exploit a child, came in, did the huggy thing, had the conversation, and you're sitting there talking to him, and as the father to young men who are older than him, you could start to, God, did this kid make a one-off mistake? Am I being too hard on the kid? And blah, 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 back and forth. And we go through the whole interview. He gets taken away. He brought a backpack with him. And guess what was in the bottom of that backpack when they searched it after they arrested him? Sitting on the table the whole time I was talking to him. A loaded .38 pistol.
Right.
So what does he do with that? Number one, to anybody on the set, right? He wouldn't have got a shot off because we have designed this for security reasons. But I think about, what would he have done had he been alone with a child? And he wanted to make a porn video with her, and it didn't go his way, and he's got this gun. Does he force her? Does he shoot her? Does he kidnap her? What does he do? But the point of the story was there was a gun in that backpack. There was a gun in this backpack, and the police have a right to take a look if they think there's potential danger there. I don't think – look, he's got a stellar defense team, and they're going to give him everything they've got. Reputationally, and I get the sense that they're being paid a whole lot of money to do it. So they're gonna fight the prosecution at every turn. But at the end of the day, and I've covered a lot of trials, I don't think there's anything there that gets overturned or any significant evidence that gets suppressed in this case.
You said you guys have security at your stings, and that guy wouldn't have gotten a shot off. How does that work?
Well, the first rule of security is you don't discuss security, but suffice it to say that, barriers are set up, people are in places that would protect both me and everybody else on the set, and it's designed to have as much control as you can have. Now, look, the edgy nature of this obviously is part of what makes it so insanely popular. You're watching the commission of a felony. You're watching the confrontation of somebody who's just committed the felony. You watch their body and you listen to the things they say, and we go back and forth. There's a dark sense of humor to it, and I will be a smartass with these guys sometimes if they try to get that way with me. But the danger, the inherent danger to it is part of what makes it popular. But we've, as best as we can, made it as safe as it can possibly be.
What's your take on P. Diddy? I don't know if we talked since the sentencing.
Well, we were sitting here the day they raided his houses in Los Angeles.
Oh,
I
yes,
remember because I got a
that's right.
text and we
That's
started
right.
talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a couple more years. It looks like he got into trouble as well inside the joint for, I'm trying to think having some material or something
Yeah, I think
like
he had
that.
a cell phone and
More cell phone stuff. But what's your head on that?
Well, I think he was a really bad guy doing bad stuff, right? He that video came out, him beating Cassie, and obviously that encouraged law enforcement to step it up. In many of these cases, whether it's R. Kelly or any of these other high-profile cases, Bill Cosby, the civil suits are a template for a criminal investigation. So in this case, Homeland Security and the other investigators were, they were handed a great criminal case because of all the information that was in the civil cases. So they went out and they took what they took, and I think they, did they overcharge him? Is it difficult for a jury to come to grips on a racketeering charge when there's only one person charged, when the essence of racketeering is conspiring with others?
Right.
Yeah, I think that was a hard thing for this jury to digest. The Mann Act and other things. Now, look, they convicted him on what they thought they could convict him of those crimes, and that's it. But those crimes carry, pretty light sentences for somebody who's not been convicted of a crime before. So if you take the horrible beating video out of it and all the talk of, forced sex and hiring prostitutes to do things to people that would physically harm them for his prurient satisfaction and interest, yeah, it's horrible and it's gross and he's a bad human being. But at the end of the day, there are crimes for which he was committed, and there are penalties that are structured into the law. And I think what we saw was a reasonable sentence from a reasonable judge based upon the convictions that were rendered against him.
Yeah, he got into trouble for being on a three-way phone call.
Yes.
And I knew it was something with a phone, but I was like, it's not cell phone. He somehow was talking to his lawyer, and his lawyer had patched somebody else in or something, which...
I thought it was involved with a cell phone, but I couldn't.
Well, you had the phone call part right. It was somehow it's illegal to have a three-way phone call.
Well, because
from in the
all
joint.
prison calls are monitored. And so if you circumvent that monitoring, which is why they, at least the rules are, you can't have a cell phone, they can't monitor it.
Yeah, it seemed like they got over their skis in terms of prosecuting him, and then it was sort of like, it's always a weird position, like if you ever find yourself in court and your attorney stands up and goes, look, Chris Hansen may be a world-class asswipe, but there's no law against being a bad dude. You have to sort of sit there and go like, you got to
listen to all the stuff, but it's, the
but
jury
that was sort of the case. There's no law against just being a horrible person. Right. And we'd like to put him in there for that, but the Mann Act stuff, I mean, from a guy who lives in L.A. and has been to Vegas 200,000 times in a month. There used to be a Southwest flight just called the stripper flight. When, Fridays at noon or whatever, it's all the strippers would fly out of L.A. and go to Vegas. And if you took one of them back to Sherman Oaks or something, now there's a Mann Act going on. Like it seemed he seemed like a bad guy, but it also just seemed a little crazy to me. And
overcharging.
Yeah, and it also seemed like they were trying, they want to get some pelts and they want to make a name for themselves. And
look, if they want to indict you, they can go to a grand jury and indict you. You can get a grand jury to do just about whatever you want. You got to get it to trial.
Yeah, what worries me is like the Mike Nifung Duke Lacrosse thing, where they just go, look, I'm running for election. This would look good.
Well, that was an extreme case.
Yes, it was an extreme case.
I remember when Ed Bradley of 60 Minutes did the seminal story on that. And arguably, he was the only guy who had the credibility for a lot of reasons to really do it.
Ed Bradley of
60 Minutes.
Yeah, black, so it made sense.
So anyway, he took on the DA, and he interviewed the kids. And the kids and their lawyers took a risk by talking to any reporter, but they did. And he laid this thing bare. And I remember asking one of my producers who used to work at 60 Minutes for his email because I wanted to send him a note because it was an exceptional piece of journalism. And it was gutsy at a time when, people are like, oh, well, these guys are jocks and they're over there, they're doing stuff they shouldn't be doing, and so this frat boy thing has to be punished. And all that's true, and they shouldn't have been doing what they're doing, but they didn't rape a girl.
Right.
They shouldn't have a stripper at a house off campus. That's bad judgment. But they didn't commit a crime. Right. And Ed Bradley laid that out, and he graciously wrote me right back, and it was not long before he passed away. And said thank you, and we chatted back and forth. But it was that was outrageous.
Ed Bradley. Now I got to figure it out. But in the pantheon of old guys who decided to get a ear piercing late in life,
first one.
And then Harrison Ford was probably watching that interview of Mike Nifong and like, hey, man, that old timer looks pretty good with an earring. Because most guys don't make that move in their 60s. Right. It's something you do when you're 19 or 20 or something.
But, it never bothered me that Ed Bradley did it. When Ed Bradley did it, it was cool. If I was going to do it, it looked douchey,
I'm trying to think Trump. I'm trying to think like who is the worst? Who would be the worst with an earring?
Oh, it looked goofy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Now, once in college, 100 years ago, I forget what we were doing, but people would involve vodka and probably some other stuff. And the next thing I knew, a girlfriend had on a bet, had pierced my ear, which I wore a earring for 10 minutes. And
really?
And it was on a bet.
She did the one where she iced it up and
I think it was iced and a potato or an apple on the other end. Just put some alcohol, probably vodka on it. Just boom right through. And
nice.
I had it for a minute, and I decided it was silly, and it all healed up, and that was the end of that.
All right, let's try to think. Who's one of the best? Jimi Hendrix, good earring wearer.
Yes, good earring.
I believe I'm looking at you, Dawson. Lead singer from Thin Lizzy.
Phil Lynott
probably wore good earring.
Well, Keith Richards occasionally.
Anyone who can pass as a pirate looks pretty good.
Phil Lynott looks a lot like Johnny Depp in that kind of.
Johnny Depp pulls it off. Yeah.
Right. Chris Hansen, no. Bill Belichick.
No.
No.
Unless the gal wanted him to do it.
Young cheerleader. You should pay a visit to his house. Yeah. I mean, there's Phil. Now you wore it well. That's a good earring call there. Yeah. Then there's a band called Golden Earring, but I bet their lead singer didn't have a golden earring.
How could you
not?
Thin
Lizzy had an earring.
Golden earring. I remember that band.
So I'm trying to think like who would be Jed Clampett would be bad. We can't just keep picking white guys though. We got to spread it around a little bit. I think Obama could pull off a small stud, but it would have to be tasteful. Couldn't be a big hoop.
Yeah, I don't know. Not with an Oxford suit. He wears such nice clothes. It'd be weird to have the earring with it. I think.
Yeah. All right. Are you familiar with this new thing that's going on? This Roblox?
Roblox. Well, we've got Roblox, which is a insanely popular gaming platform, specifically marketed to children as young as 5 years old. The characters in these different games look like Lego characters, and it's a platform where you can go to play games. It's a platform where you can create a game and put it on there, and it's been around about 15 years. We've been working on an investigation for about 6-8 months now. At TruBlu, my streaming crime network. And what we've uncovered is shocking. And there's been a lot of reporting about this, too, and the company has claimed that they're making security advances. But what was going on historically is that predators knew and know all these children are there. And they can go to different games and rooms and meet children. And they can give them Roblox currency, Robux, and induce them into doing all kinds of things, unknowingly creating child pornography, getting them to do stuff to their children. And it's so rampant. In one county in Florida, in Marion County, Florida, there was a case where a young man was arrested for exploiting at least a dozen children on Roblox. And in the same county, a 10-year-old girl was victimized by a predator on Roblox who who was operating from the UK. So this is just in one little county in Florida, and it's going on everywhere. I interviewed a guy who's 30 years old, and he was exploited on Roblox 15 years ago. And he's a former Marine. This guy can deadlift 200 or 607 pounds. Excuse me, 716 pounds. And he was brought to tears talking about how he was groomed and exploited by somebody on Roblox. And so, Roblox, which has been on a PR offensive, they did a
in
New York Times podcast the other day, and it was disastrous. I'm trying to get them to sit down and talk to me. So far, they've refused. They don't want to answer my questions.
In 2024, they made $3.6 billion in revenue. How do they make their money?
They make their money through a lot of different ways, but they people go on there. There's obviously advertising, and there's licensing fees, and all kinds of different things that people have access to there. And when you use Robux and there's a transaction, they take 35%. So there is a scenario where if somebody paid a child for child porn or paid something for child porn, and they did it with Roblox would get a 35% VIG on that transaction.
Robux, which is the currency.
Correct.
And Roblox is the company. Where are they out of?
San Mateo, California.
Oh, so they're local boys.
Yeah.
And you said they did a sit-down with
the New York Times podcast, and they, in other words, I've been in discussions with them for months now, and I had a Roblox press person tell me, I'm not gonna put my guy out there with you because you've obviously interviewed this young guy named Michael Schlepp, who's been a advocate.
The Marine.
No. This is another
Someone
guy.
else.
This is a young man, 22-year-old, and he's wildly popular on social media. In fact, we did a Roblox panel at CrimeCon earlier this year in Denver. And the Schlepp kid, went to Roblox and said, look, this is going on. Let me be a part of the solution. He ended up catching a bunch of predators. What did Roblox do? They banned him from the site, as opposed to saying, you could be our emissary and help us do this. So they told me, because I interviewed Michael Schlepp and because I interviewed the Attorney General for the state of Louisiana, which has sued Roblox, along with 3 other attorneys general, including the one in Florida, which has launched a criminal probe. So this is getting very serious now. They said, well, no, it's a hit piece. We're not going to do it. So now I'm in the position where I've got to consider a spontaneous interview with a representative of the company.
Is that sort of waiting in the parking lot?
Maybe.
Would you like some sweet tea and Toll House cookies?
Yeah.
I was just thinking of Crime Con, and I realized
it's a great event. I'm exhausted after.
But I'm also picturing, all these cons, Comic-Con, you have to dress up in an outfit. So they got a bunch of Lizzie Bordens running around. What do they dress as?
They dress regular clothes, street clothes. And
nobody does. They're going to start theming out. That's where it goes.
Well, there's a crime con.
You're going to get the Menendez twins in there. You're going to have them all.
Right. The only cruise I've ever gone on was the Crime Con cruise last year.
Oh, wow.
So they do a cruise. And the guys who Red Seat, and the guys who run it, they're not only genius businessmen, but they're really good guys. They know what they're doing. That's the platform where my podcasts are. Fox bought it, and
Megyn Kelly's there.
All that. And so when they ask you to do something because they've done so much for me, you tend to do it. Now, I'm not a big cruise guy, but I'll tell you, you can make fun of it. But the connection that you make with the people who consume your content is so organic and so close. My wife and I were on this cruise, right? We stopped for coffee someplace, and you see 2 people come up who are obviously physically challenged, husband and wife, on their scooters. And they said hello, and we took some time, and we were chatting with them. These people left their home in Alabama in their van, had to load up their scooters, go to the thing, go through all the stuff that somebody who's physically challenged has to go through to get on a cruise, to hear guys like me talk. Well, then you better be on your best behavior and you better do your job, because these are the kind of people who are supporting you. And
I've done fan cruises. I like it.
You got to do that stuff.
Yeah,
but it hit me in a way. I've always been very thankful to the people who follow me from local news for 50, 45 years. But this particular moment got me in a way that almost makes me tear up. I mean, these people are just salt of the earth, wonderful people. And, money people could do whatever they want. They didn't have to go to a CrimeCon cruise. They did it because they appreciated the work that we do for them.
Bubs Naturals, getting older. Well, hit me harder than I thought. Stiff joints in the morning, longer gym recovery, hair thinning out a little bit, nails breaking. Actually, my nails are okay, but losing a little of the skin glow. That's because collagen production takes a nosedive starting in your mid-20s. I know, so early, so young. Welcome to reality. That's where Bubs Naturals collagen peptides step in, and I use it every day. Since taking Bubs, I'm feeling like I'm younger, maybe even in my 20s. Joints are stronger, hair thicker, nails stronger, skin smoother. I put it in my smoothie every single morning. Just a scoop. Shake it up, man. Put a few things in there as well. I don't know where this stuff was when I was young, but I didn't need it then, and now I do. Stuff, it's the glue holding everything together. What sets Bubs apart? No junk, zero sugars, sweeteners, no fillers, just the collagen, just the good stuff. Am I right, Dawson?
Live better longer. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting 20% off at Bubs Naturals by using code ADAM at checkout. Just head to bubsnaturals.com and use code ADAM, and you're all set. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you.
DRA debt relief. All right, let's be honest. Credit card debt, well, it's gotten out of control. If you owe 10 grand or more, credit cards, personal loans, well, this one's for you. The folks at Debt Relief Advocates are rolling out a new program to actually help people dig out. You could end up paying back only a fraction of what you owe. And no, it's not declaring bankruptcy. It's not some shady consolidation loan. It's real debt relief, the kind credit card companies would rather you never found out about. They don't exactly love the idea of you finally getting free. So if you're drowning in debt, now's the time to take a look. Am I right, Dawson?
Head over to DRA.com. That's DRA.com. Find out what kind of relief you qualify for and start turning things around today. Again, DRA.com.
I never really get the celebrity, and it could be a musician, but it could be a comedian or whomever, who has some sort of, I don't know, mild disdain for their fans.
No,
I don't get it at all.
You're nothing
I'm appreciative.
without those people. You're nothing without those people.
No, I agree. I think the way...
How did you have the #1 podcast? Because everybody wants to, all those people want to listen to you.
I agree, and people do that. Oh, I know it's such a hassle after the
that's
show,
your
taking
job.
pictures and stuff like that. Taking pictures, that's awesome.
If that's the worst thing you have to do, I mean, live in the moment. Make them feel special. Thank them for their support.
Yeah, and then they'll usually... It's weird because they'll tell you what big fans they are, and they'll actually make you feel better. And so you're not really doing them a favor. They're doing you a favor because they're telling you how much they love you.
Also, people are watching you when you don't know they're watching you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it reminds you to be a good human in general.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're not at CrimeCon talking to fans. Even when you're going to the Michigan State football game and you're supposed to be next in line, but you let the people go instead. All that adds up.
I agree.
Into this soup of support that feeds us in this business.
It seems almost impossible to pull off a crime these days with science, DNA, not to mention just a ring doorbell everywhere.
Being surveilled? I mean, how many times do you think you were on a camera on your way to the studio?
I don't know that you could make it 9 feet without being filmed. Like they literally show the only person they can't find is the guy who put the bomb at the DNC headquarters. That's the only person we can't find.
The Unabomber for years.
And the Unabomber, but that was pre all of this technology.
That was 80s and 90s.
So you're not going to get away with it these days. It doesn't mean they're not going to try, but I'm trying to think of like what crimes would have been pretty easily solvable, like, the famous one with the Navy surgeon doctor accused of killing his wife and family, whatever.
Yeah, Army surgeon.
Right, Army surgeon.
Yeah,
right.
I know.
That thing always perplexed everybody all the time. Give me the name of that case. Right.
Twice, I think. Then they convicted him the second time around.
Right. But the neighbor'd have the Ring doorbell and would see the hippies coming in with the knives and it'd be done, right? What was that story? Super famous
There'd
murder.
been movies on it.
Movies on it, everything on it. But those, let's see. He was accused of murder of his Jeffrey McDonald, former
right.
USA Army captain, physician, convicted 1970 murders, pregnant wife, Colette, and their 2 young daughters. And I think he is Fort Bragg. He claims some like marauding bikers came in and broke his. I think that's kind of where the fugitive started.
Well, exactly. But even in more modern cases, I mean, John Benet Ramsey. Well, I mean, that's 95, 96.
Right.
And, Boulder's a modern town, but, maybe had there been the surveillance in place on that Christmas Eve that we'd have, 30 years later.
Shit, that seems like almost the last of the ones that'll just never be solved.
Think that'll be solved. You
do?
John Ramsey has appeared at CrimeCon, and I've gotten to know him. And as a father and, as a guy who covers this sort of thing, my heart breaks for him because he and his wife and even his son were under such a microscope. Mm-hmm. And there was so poorly investigated that case was, and poorly prosecuted in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And there was a delay in testing this DNA that's been in existence for all these years. And he's said, look, I'll pay for it. Mm-hmm. But can you imagine being under that shadow as a parent who's grieving and can't get justice? Now, there are 2 or 3 suspects that people have always talked about in that case.
Well, one of them's his son, right?
No. He came under scrutiny. But the son, I'm convinced that no one in that family had anything to do with it.
No, but I'm saying as a parent, I have boy-girl twins.
Right.
If somebody murdered my daughter, then it would be horrific. But if somebody murdered my daughter and then accused my son or me of it, then it would go even further in the horrific
and that's
department.
What happened here. The son had nothing to do with it, nor did the father, nor the mother. This was I'm convinced it was an outside deal. And I think ultimately, I mean, he's out there beating the drum on this thing. And he's close to 80 years old, I think. I mean, he's
so it's been 30 years, right? Right. Yeah, well...
I mean, you talk about a miscarriage of justice.
So your theory, somebody broke in.
I think there were 2 or 3 possible suspects in the area who were predators, who had the criminal profile of somebody who could do this. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not an expert on this case, but I reviewed enough of it and talked to enough people and have spent enough time with John to believe with some sense of certainty that it was an outsider who came in. It might have been stalking her. It might have been, somebody who was following her, somebody who was infatuated with this child, but who committed this crime. And the DNA has gone untested or not properly tested for 3 decades now.
Why is that?
They claim that it's because there was such a small amount left to test that if they didn't have the proper technology or anything went wrong, they'd lose the opportunity. So they want to save it till technology caught up with it. That's my understanding. John Ramsey has said, look, the technology is there now. And you're worried that you're going to be, that the culprit was here all along and you muffed this case. And so you're slow walking me, and there's been a change in leadership and the state and local law enforcement. Now's the time to do it.
The crazy case, I think it's the Chandra Levy case.
I remember that case well.
And I'll tell you the part...
The congressman?
That I remember. Yeah, that was Gary Condit, I think.
Gary Condit.
The part that I remember most is, speaking of DAs, I think there was a female or somebody. It could have been the mayor, could have been the DA, could have been the whatever in D.C. But so Chandra Levy is an intern,
For the congressman.
For the congressman, and they're having a
romantically linked
liaison. And she goes jogging in the park and is never seen again. Yeah. And then at some point they find her body. Meanwhile, all attention turns toward the congressman saying, well, this guy had her taken out because he was married, family, career, blah, 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 a lot to lose. They at some point found out that there was a guy who was in jail for pulling somebody off a jogging trail at the same park and raping them and trying to kill them by the side of the jogging trail. So that seemed like possibly that guy could have done it because that was his MO. And then at some point, there's a press conference, and I've seen it, but I can't find it again. Right? I don't know if it's the DA or the mayor or something, but they came out and they went, don't even think about this guy that's in prison.
Well, that was the guy who did it, though.
Yeah, I know.
He was convicted of the crime, ultimately.
I know, but the point is the DA and or the mayor had a presser to say, yes, there's a guy incarcerated currently who did the exact same thing to another female jogger, but don't even look that direction.
Right.
We're going after Gary Conant. And I was like, are you guys interested in law
how about
enforcement?
Justice here.
Yes.
You know?
And yes, it was and I think the guy may have been illegal too, which probably didn't help them in whatever theme they're trying to put together.
I don't know if that was the same issue then that it is now.
It was
the Chandra Levy case was 97, 98?
It was nearly not what it is now, but it still wasn't, whatever their theme was, it wasn't good.
Right.
It wasn't good for them, so they just sort of said, stay away and focus on this other thing. And it was a funny thing. I remember watching the presser in real time, and they're going, don't even think about this guy. And I'm like, I'm thinking about it because it seems
the
like
criminal math seems to add up. And in fact, ultimately, that was the guy, right?
Yep, that was the guy. And I don't know what happened to Condit, but I do know that when this all went down was also right around 9/11. And
I think it was just before.
He just got, but they made a big, whatever, he got swept right off the front page.
Yeah.
He just went, everything went away.
Story. I was at Dateline at the time, and it was,
him and
every night.
Paula Poundstone.
Right.
Remember that
story.
one?
Yeah, I do.
Right. They both had 9/11, like blew them off the front page. She had a thing, and I don't know exactly what her thing was, but child endangerment, something slumber parties. You gave me a look. I gave you the look, Chris, because that's right. That's your bailiwick.
Yeah.
She had it was like she got drunk and drove, and the kids were in the car.
That's right.
And
I don't think it was a predatory thing. I think it was a child endangerment thing.
There was that, but there was also a kind of a slumber party part of the discussion as well. It wasn't just, she had a couple of pops at the Christmas party and they drove home. There was a sort of sexual component to it. What was Ingemar Guana? Huh? Let's see. Yeah, he's the killer, El Salvadorian. But anyway, what was the Paula Poundstone thing? I know there was some reckless endangerment thing. Basically, again, you get drunk and you drive and the kids in the car, which is all right, that doesn't have to be a career ender. But there was an other element to adopted kids and had sleepovers. There was kind of an element.
I never covered that, but I remember what you're talking about. There was the drunk driving thing led to some other speculation about some other things. I remember that.
Yeah, let's just see if we can figure that.
I'm sure that's
one out. June 2001, comedian Paula Poundstone was arrested for driving under the influence, DUI, with foster children in the car. The charges led to a high-profile legal case. Her temporary loss of custody to her children, I guess adopted, period in rehab, and significant disruption of a career. Yeah, that'll do that. Yeah. Details of the the incident and the legal outcome. So was it just about driving?
I remember just the driving stuff in terms of the reporting I remember seeing on it, but there was some speculation about some other stuff, and I never reported on it, so I can't be sure.
Yes, charges she was initially charged with driving under the influence,
right,
and lewd acts upon a child. That's the part that I seem to remember. The lewd acts charges with Poundstone's she vehemently denied were eventually dropped due to lack of evidence as part of a plea bargain. Yeah, the lewd acts part. That was the part that seemed... That part seemed weird because if I got pulled over after drinking a few beers with my son in the car, I could see that part, but I wouldn't know where the lewd act part kicked in.
I assume at some point the children who were in the car the way to get ice cream after she had been drinking were interviewed without her present, as would be the normal procedure, and maybe something came up during that interview that raised suspicions about her relationship with those kids or some others, I would believe. And obviously, whatever was said was never able to be proved.
Yeah, I just remember literally the day her case, or she was sentenced, or, the news day was 9/11.
Yeah.
And therefore, scrubbed from everyone's memory.
I mean, we didn't do any story but 9/11 for 4 months.
No?
I mean, that's all I did.
Oh, yeah? Where were you on 9/11?
I was in Toronto. Talk about a story that got, buried for a while. I was on a story in Toronto. There was a Canadian airliner that had a fuel leak. And unbeknownst to the crew, they just saw a weight imbalance in the fuel tanks, and they turned the valve to put some fuel in the other tank, and it ended up bleeding the whole plane of any fuel. And it was a Canadian airline, and there they are.
Because they bled it into the leaking tank.
They bled it into the leaking tank. So they're flying from Toronto to Lisbon, Portugal.
Wow.
And they're 30,000 feet in the air with no power. So they pop the rat, which is the generator. And he circles it around and around and around and makes a dead stick landing at the Joint Use Air Force Base on the island of Terceira.
Dead stick is no power.
No power.
Right.
And nary a scratch.
Really?
But it was this amazing story that we were doing for Dateline. So we're in Toronto, and we got one more day.
So they're gliding at 30,000
feet for 30 minutes before
What size?
It was an A320, I think.
So a big commercial craft. All right, or decent sized commercial.
People are praying. And I interviewed a lot of the passengers on there. And this pilot, this captain, did a phenomenal job. I mean, he saved all these people's lives, and we interviewed all the people who were involved in it. But that day was 9/11, and everybody, the rest of the crew, had gone out on the town. And for whatever reason, I said, "Nah, you guys go ahead." So I'm up early. I go for a run, and I'm drinking my coffee in the hotel room, and I'm watching the Today Show, and I see the video of the smoke pouring out of the World Trade Center. And Matt Lauer says, hey, something's happened here, and we're going to figure it out, and we'll get right back to you. Go to commercial break. I called the office. I said, what the hell's going on? I said, well, we think a pilot had a heart attack or something and crashed into the World Trade Center. Keep doing what you're doing. I was supposed to go from there to Denver on another story. And then I see the other tower get hit. I said, this is not. I said, this is an act of terror. I said, start heading towards New York. So go to the airport. They shut down airspace over Canada. I said to the producer, get a rental car, and we're just going to start driving. And we got to the point whether we were equidistant between Boston and New York, and I called in and I said, where do you want us? They said, go to Boston. 2 of the planes came out of Boston. We don't have anybody there to report. We've got plenty of people in New York, as overwhelming as it is. So we went to Boston for the first 2 days, reported from there, then took the train from Boston to New York and just went to work every day covering it.
Do you know Seth MacFarlane was supposed to be on that flight, right? Did you hear that story?
I remember it now because you just said it.
Yeah, he went to the airport.
Yeah.
It wasn't he'd canceled it a week earlier.
Those
so
stories
was waiting.
haunt me. Every air crash I've ever covered, there's always somebody who changes either to get on the fateful flight or miss the fateful flight.
He's sitting at the bar watching it after not making the flight and trying to get on the flight.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have the Family Guy. Chris Hansen, everybody. TruBlu is the network, and there's Takedown with Chris Hansen on TruBlu, and then there's the podcast as well. And you can go have a seat with Chris Hansen. You can also just go to YouTube and Twitter at Chris Hansen as well.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to be here. I appreciate it.
We'll take a quick break. We'll do the news with ELISHA KRAUSS right after this. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Yeah, you know the jingle. These guys keep your car on the road so you don't end up stuck on the shoulder looking like a dope. Friendly, helpful service people actually know their stuff, not just some kid who'd rather be on his phone. I've always used them. I've used them when I lived in an apartment, drove in a Isuzu Trooper, and I use them now. Thousands of parts and accessories stocked in store or online, so you don't have to panic when the check engine light appears. Need wipers swapped? Sure. Brake lights out? No problem. The pros, well, they'll help you. They'll find you a shop if you're not a DIY type. Local, do it for you. But try it yourself. So whether you're a gearhead or you don't know a lug nut from a donut, they'll walk you right through it. No attitude, just real help. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam.
This November, action is free on Pluto TV. Go on the run with Jack Reacher.
Every suspect was a train killer.
Then buckle up for Drive, World War Z,
Every human being we save is one less fight.
and Charlie's Angels.
Damn, I hate to fly.
Launch into sci-fi adventure with The Fifth Element and laugh through the mayhem in Tropic Thunder.
What is going on here?
All the thrills, all for free. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
It's time to celebrate Christmas with the Ace Man.
Have a holy Christmas and the best time of the year.
In Santa Barbara, Friday night at the Santa Barbara Comedy Club, Adam Carolla live.
Chestnut roasting in the open fire.
Saturday, December 6th in Corona, California.
Yeah.
At Dos Lagos Amphitheater.
Write it down.
Celebrate the season with Jay Mohr.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
Thank you for that, Jay.
And Thursday, December 18th, a special Adam Carolla Show Christmas
It's wonderful and, breaking news.
with Brad Williams
I'm Ted Koppel.
at the Sagebrush Cantina on December 18th.
And the first day of Christmas, my true love came to me. I Paris in the parent tree.
Join us for the brightest season of the year.
You are going to get aroused.
Get your tickets now at adamcarolla.com.
Oh, yeah. I was at the Lakers game with Jay Mohr and my son, and he was doing Joe Pesci for my son. My son was laughing his ass off because he watches all the Goodfellas and all the Raging Bulls and all the stuff. But it's nice when your kids come online and they get a little sense of humor.
Oh, yeah. Like when you can, our oldest is 12 and like now she gets Christmas Vacation. And she asked to watch it because she's like, well, every scene is funny.
Sorry, Christmas Vacation's also a thing.
A good thing or?
No, it's like if there's a movie called Hanukkah and I said, my son finally gets Hanukkah, you'd go, okay. But you mean the movie?
Yeah, but you're talking about movies.
Well, no.
You're talking about like their sense of humor in movies.
I was. When you said Christmas Vacation, I was like, she's appreciating Christmas Vacation. Well, it's also because we're at Christmas Vacation or something like that. But
it's around the
corner.
corner.
You're right. I should have known what you were talking about. But she gets the Chevy Chase movie.
Yeah, the humor of
Christmas,
it all.
like she can get it.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
that's
she
nice.
chuckles at every scene.
Yeah.
And I actually was wondering, like, because my husband and I like to watch comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, and actually you'd be the best person to help me with this. Like, what is a good, somewhat clean intro into stand-up comedy for her, maybe?
Stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Well,
like
I mean,
comedy
we got
special,
like your Nate Bargatze's of the
That's
world.
true, yeah.
I've done 3 dry bar specials now.
Yeah.
So those are clean.
Should definitely get those.
Everything in the dry bar galaxy
Is pretty clean.
is clean. And yeah, there's a few guys, but I mean, Nate Bargatze comes to mind.
That'd be fun.
Leno's
to watch
clean,
over
but he doesn't
Vacation.
do anything. Yeah. He doesn't do specials.
Yeah.
I think you should start at the beginning. Go to Bill Cosby himself.
Bill Cosby,
Then we have to have a
America's
conversation
father.
about the rest of it. And like,
Yeah, do some dry. Watch my dry bar specials.
That's a good idea.
There you go.
We'd do that over Christmas Vacation.
Over Christmas.
Did the Lakers
over
win when you
Christmas
went? Are you
Vacation.
their good luck charm?
Yeah, well, no, I'm not because they lose every time. But they were playing the 2-16 Pelicans or something like that.
My husband's going to the Sun. They're playing like the Suns, the Lakers and the Suns. Is it the Phoenix Suns?
Yes.
This is why I don't talk sports ball.
Yeah, I'm never. I've never been a big live game guy,
I would
sports
totally
guy.
do that. That is,
but
it's
I got
fun.
connections, and it's nice. I took my daughter last time she was here, and I took my son. It's just nice.
I think live games are fun no matter what it is.
Yeah, I agree. And I always have a good time. Frankly, I'm lazy or something.
It is the drive downtown. You got to deal with parking.
Yes, it just
feels like a lot. Are you going to eat down there? Are you going to eat at the game? Are you going to eat after the game? Are you going to be hangry?
Yes.
Who are you going to deal with? All that stuff.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing about movies and your daughter that I have experienced with women. They get older, right? And then you end up dating them. And then at some point, they tell you, you go, well, because when you're getting to know someone, you got to go, well, what comedies do you like, And, for me, I would go Crimes and Misdemeanors from Woody Allen. It's not really full out comedy, but like a Woody Allen comedy, Love and Death is a good one. Defending Your Life by Albert Brooks. Like, there's lots of comedies I like, but at some point, the lady will say to me, oh, I like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Or they'll go, I dated a girl who was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and Ladybugs. And then I go, those aren't that funny. And they go, oh, they're the funniest. And then I go, no, they're not. And they go, they're super funny. And then I go, when did you see it? And they go, when I was 12. And I go, have you seen it since? And they go, nope. And I go, you got to see it. You cannot lock off your 12-year-old brain where you go, because your daughter will think Christmas Vacation was the funniest movie ever written because she's going to watch it at 12. And at some point she's going to annoy some guy when she's 27 and they're dating and she's making him watch. I had to watch Ladybugs.
So I'll be sure by the time she's 25, I'll show her The Hangover?
Yes. Okay. I had to watch Ladybugs. Because I was like,
you wanted to prove a point. That's exactly why you watched
It's like, it is funny. And then at the end, they get about 20 minutes in and they look at you and they go, this isn't funny. And I go, I know. It's your 11-year-old brain that saw it, processed it that way.
Is Ladybugs the soccer one with Rodney Dangerfield?
Yes. Not funny.
It is not funny at all.
I know, but if you were 11.
Credit, my 12-year-old didn't think it was funny either.
Oh, she's single. All right, let's not get weird.
Get Chris Hansen back in here.
Get Hansen. All right, what do you got?
Woo, we got some interesting stuff. So Mamdani, the socialist mayor himself, the incoming mayor is starting to appoint people to serve on his transition team.
Oh, let's get the ladies out there. Come on now.
Well, this is a pretend lady, pun intended. Rabbi Abby Stein, who is a transgender gal, is a part of the transition team for the, wait for it, Health Committee.
Perfect.
So a man who's trying to become a woman, which is not scientifically possible, is now a part of the Health Committee for Mamdani's team. There's over 400 appointees, by the way. Like, I get that New York City is a large town, but I mean, 400 people, doesn't that seem like a lot to be on all these different committees? This is the rabbi now. And then Stein's real name is Shirley. And we have a picture of what he looked like a decade ago.
That's him?
Yes. So he claims that he was raised in an ultra-Orthodox Jewish home and didn't have access to the internet until 2012, and then decided that he was going to become a female. He's an author. Abby is an author of a book called Becoming...
Where'd my dick go?
Becoming Eve?
I thought it was the children's classic, Where'd My Dick Go? But this is a different one?
Yep.
What's the name of it?
Becoming Eve.
Oh, perfect.
Little on the nose?
Yeah.
Little on the nose. And we do need to give a credit to our friends over at the Babylon Bee. This comes from their sister website, Not the Bee, where they actually cover news things. So, but it seems like it's so ridiculous, it seems like it could be satire. But it is not.
Well, so here's the thing. First off, government just begats government. Like the bigger, the more players, the more positions, the more whatever. I'm starting to hear, it's like Minnesota Somali relief and all this stuff. It's like us, homeless, NGOs, concert to raise money for the fire victims. It's just one big money laundering operation. It's just
Look
money.
at all the COVID laundering that happened.
It just pours in and nothing ever comes out. It's like you get Gavin Newsom 2 years ago going, we're going to build these tiny homes for the homeless community. They're going to be $689,000 a unit. We're going to get going, and it's not going to be
and they're
4
smaller
months.
than the studio.
And there's nothing. Nothing ever gets built.
Yeah.
Nothing ever happens. It just goes in, and it never comes out the other side. You just keep creating positions and deputy and
giving them to all your friends.
There's a district selectman, and I need someone in charge of the deputy district selectman. And it's like it just keeps going and going. And then, by the way, it turns out that almost everyone is corruptible. I grew up with this sort of white guy with the red hair and the pinky ring, explaining, how we do it in New Orleans, don't you? My daddy owns a bunch of oil wells. It turns out women of color end up doing just as much of this shit as guys did, maybe even more, it feels like now. Turns out women are just as corruptible. Turns out blacks are just as corruptible. It was always like
Armenians, Middle Eastern people.
If we could just get these white guys out of here, we could have a nice government. And it's like, we got a lot of white guys out there, and it turns out the Somalis are doing the same shit.
Yep.
So everyone's fucking corruptible. As long as you're throwing money at it, everyone's taking it.
I agree 100%. But also now we have you can't investigate it. It's like the horrific Islamic rape gangs in that neighborhood or in that town in the UK.
Yes.
And that we know that both sides of the aisle, the liberals and the conservatives, were covering it up because, that's an important voting bloc. We can't piss them off.
Yes.
We can't offend them.
Yes.
Meanwhile, they're grooming minors and for generations. Like in some cases, mothers then had their daughters that were abused and noticed the signs and were ringing the alarm. And I think you have that with this horrific shooting of these National Guardsmen. It's like that guy was radicalized here. And when you allow that to happen, there's so much different corruption. And it can be financial corruption to actually creation of terrorist corruption.
Well, it does. It's so funny. Like when I think back on the Biden administration and I picture Admiral Levine and that she, big pile of garbage up there and wearing his Salvation Army skirt stuffed into his blouse. You know what I mean? Just going like, oh, Jesus Christ. But they never stop. They just.
That person was just as qualified to have that position as this person is to be on the Committee for Health.
Well, what I'm trying to say is if you say, look, I've been on many a job site. Like I was on, and it's no different than this. I was on a job site in the Palisades recently for one of my fire vlogs.
Yeah.
And I walked onto the job site and there must have been 20 Hispanic dudes working. Okay. Only Hispanic dudes. There were no women, there were no blacks, and there were no Asians, and there were no Jews, and nothing like this guy with the fur hat and the payos. It's just literally 38-year-old Hispanic dudes all wearing bags, all building a house. And by the way, they built this house. I was like, how long? When did you start this house? And they're like, 4 months ago. And it was built out fast.
Good for them,
and I said, when's it going to be done? I said, 2 months. I said, done? 2 months. They're hauling ass, and they're throwing their tools around. Everyone knows what they're doing. If I said to the guy who I interviewed, I think his name was Guy, by the way. If I said to that guy, and I said, look, what do you got here? And 18, 20 Hispanic guys, male? Yeah. Between the ages of 28 and 40? Yeah. I said, listen, here's the new deal.
You need to hire Elisha KRAUSS.
I need some transitioning folk here. Like I need some he-she's. I need some trannies. Working this job.
Or women or black people.
Let me finish. I'd like to see about 20%. Well, I'd like them to reflect the community. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to need to get rid of 4 or 5 of these Hispanic guys and give me 4 or 5 black guys. Also need some gay representation, some LGBT type stuff in here. So I need a couple lesbians, a couple people who identify as female but are male, and then I need some going the other direction too. And listen, I'll let you keep 4 of the Hispanic guys that are doing, but I need to round it out. I need Asians, I need females, I need gays. That fucking job would grind to a halt. It would just stop.
It wouldn't even get finished in 20 years. It
would just stop because it couldn't move forward because you wouldn't have had qualified people doing it. So I don't know why you want to treat government any different than that, but apparently you do, and this is the trouble we're getting into.
And this is why government should be smaller.
That's right.
100%.
All right, so Mamdani and Luigi Mangione, and I got to remember everyone's name now. Everything's in New York.
All the big stories are in New York, except this one that we have next is out of Portland. So Portland did a woke Christmas tree lighting, but they didn't even say the word Christmas tree. The best part is that we have some video that we'll get to in just a second, because I feel like I have to intro this. Thousands of people still went out to do the Christmas tree lighting on Friday night. This was over the Thanksgiving weekend. The festive occasion was kicked off with a woman from the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs thanking everyone in the crowd for coming out on Native American Heritage Day.
Land acknowledgement part.
They did do a land acknowledgement. And then another woman draped in a Palestinian flag used the stage time to lead the crowd in a free Palestine chant.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I could get a free Palestine. Free Palestine.
So this is that's the Christmas tree. Where's the speech? I want the land acknowledgement speech. There's a part, like the most depressing bummer speech. Not since Gremlins. Has your daughter seen Gremlins?
No.
Phoebe Cates giving the speech about why she doesn't like Christmas is now second in the bummer Christmas ceremony story department.
After a land acknowledgement?
After the land acknowledgement and whatever. It's literally, we got to find Dawson. We need to find Phoebe Cates. But we need the land acknowledgement at the beginning of this thing, too, because that's the one. I saw it online.
It's what it reminds you of?
I think I saw it on the news. It's like, I just want to say something to these nutty bitches. Can we have one fucking day that we can enjoy without you and your shit all the time?
But then how would you feel if they responded by singing the Strong Woman song? Because that also was done at this Portland tree lighting. I guess I'm not a strong woman because I don't know the lyrics to this song.
Well, I'll tell you who had it right all those years ago. I am woman, hear me roar.
Oh my God, Sean used to play that all the time.
All right, we're gonna play. I'll play Phoebe.
I was 9 years old.
All right, hold on. I think I would rather hear this in Portland at the tree dedication than one of those whiny bitches up there beating her muzzle drum. Here it is. This is why, in the middle of this romp of a comedy, right in the middle of this comedy, we find out that one of the lead characters doesn't like Christmas. Home title lock, everyone. If you're a homeowner in America, you need to hear this. There's a new kind of real estate fraud going around. It's called title theft. The FBI has been warning about this for a while now. And yeah, your home equity, that's the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature, use a fake notary, file one document with the county, and on paper, they now own your home. They can take out loans against the equity, even sell your property, and you don't find out until the notices start showing up in the mail. This is why I partnered with Home Title Lock. They can help protect your equity and tell you today if you're already a victim, because you won't know unless you check. So don't wait until it's too late. It's Home Title Lock, right, Dawson?
Use our promo code Adam at HometitleLock.com and you'll get a free title history report and a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title records, urgent alerts to any changes. And if fraud occurs, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix it. Find out why we trust Home Title Lock. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Adam.
This November, action is free on Pluto TV. Go on the run with Jack Reacher.
Every suspect was a train killer.
Then buckle up for Drive, World War Z.
Every human being we save is one less to fight.
And Charlie's Angels.
Damn, I hate to fly.
Launch into sci-fi adventure with The Fifth Element and laugh through the mayhem in Tropic Thunder.
What is going on here?
All the thrills, all for free. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
She couldn't just go, I was a Jew, and we didn't really do it. But anyway.
Is it weird that I find that funny?
No, I've screamed about this since it was in the theater in 1983, and it took America many years to catch up to me. First off, as a guy who's rebuilt many a chimney and fireplace, it's not just one big hatch you go down. There's a fucking flue in the middle of it. It's about 8 inches wide. And then when you get to the firebox, there's a fire shelf. It's about, you don't get to load up with presents.
There's literally a reason why every single Christmas movie has to create some magical way that Santa gets down the chimney, because the logical brain, including a child's, knows that's not possible.
Also, you want to lose your cleaning deposit on a Santa suit? Creosote. You know how much shit's in that chimney? You will never get your cleaning deposit back.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
We got to bring your daughter to watch that movie.
I don't know if I want her to after that.
That's the only tough scene.
I feel like if she doesn't laugh at that scene, I'll judge her. But then if she does laugh at that scene, I'll be like, wait, how am I 39 and you're 12 and we're laughing at the same scene?
You know who did the voice of Gizmo?
Mm-mm.
Howie Mandel.
No way.
I swear to God, Howie Mandel did Gizmo.
I had a Brussels Griffin that looked like a mix of Gizmo and an Ewok. That's what that clip reminded me of, too.
All right, I think we have this. And confirm me with the Howie Mandel. Thanks. All right. I would rather watch Phoebe Cates. So I got a thumb up. I would rather watch Phoebe Cates christen the Christmas tree than these bitches.
On this Native American Heritage Day, I hold both gratitude and truth. The tree that we stand beside was once rooted in its own home.
There's a full-blown genocide happening, live streaming in 4K. I feel like this is the perfect time to bring this up. I feel like this is a perfect time to put them up there, and for your guys' prayers for every single one of the Palestinians and all the oppressed peoples.
Jesus Christ. Okay. We got to get women back into the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant. They're taking over. They're fucking everything up.
But would she be? She said she wants my prayers for the Palestinian people that are being genocided. But is she okay with my prayers if I pray in Jesus' name, or is it only Allahu Akbar?
All she wants is what you don't want. That's all she wants.
I just really want to look up the words of the Strong Woman song.
I want Phoebe Cates delivering the Christmas speech to Gizmo.
You gonna play that at your Christmas party?
Yes, on a loop.
Bring in the Christmas cheer.
Guess why Phoebe Cates doesn't like Christmas? She was going to get Malibu Barbie, but instead she got Encino Barbie one year. Nope. Want to keep going? Ask her where her dad is. She knows the smell coming from the chimney.
For a 90-second scene, there's a lot packed in there.
She
what was happening in the writer's room?
Also, what fucking movie? Is this a Quentin Tarantino movie or is it Gizmo? Jesus Christ. All right,
I don't know why I find that so funny.
It's funny now. It may be what drove her from acting.
Oh, interesting.
She doesn't act.
I mean, that scene wasn't that great.
I know, but maybe she just went, if this is what it is, I don't want anything.
If I have to read these idiotic words on a page, then I memorize them like this. I don't want any of it. All right. Well, I'm old enough to remember. Remember after the horrible Boston Marathon bombing, there was the chase for those brothers, and then Rolling Stone decided to put the living one on the cover, and all these middle-aged women were like, oh, my God, he's so hot.
Yeah, Rolling Stone's the worst, but yeah.
Well, turns out just maybe Americans on TikTok are the worst. So now Luigi Mangione, of course, he is the Ivy League assassin accused of murdering, that healthcare CEO, health insurance CEO. He's appearing in court. There are fans showing up for him. People are selling shirts with his face on them on Etsy and singing his praises. And I mean, this is insane. We have some video from it. Right here.
Taking out billboards and stuff.
Billboards and all that stuff. Some people are even wondering what he wore to the courthouse, and there are some websites that sell replicas of the suit or similarities of what he was wearing, and they're now sold out.
There's I don't know, maybe we've hit our bottom. I don't
The bourgeois terrorism fanboy club?
I just mean in the department of not being able to think in a sane manner.
Yeah.
Like we're just all, it kind of started. I'll tell you where it started. It started with people caring more about pets than human beings.
Oh, I can see that. I agree with that.
And I started to notice, like, especially, but when I would talk to women, I'd go, oh, this boat sunk and there were 28 people on it. And they'd go, I go, and a puppy. And they'd go, oh. And it was something, and I started realizing you're having trouble calibrating things. Like, you got a dad who was innocent and was executed in the streets of Manhattan. You're not supposed to be worshiping at the altar of his executioner.
Yeah, especially...
And someone should know this, and you should think better.
The dad that worked his way up the ladder to become the CEO of a publicly traded company versus the accused killer who's the scion of a wealthy Maryland family and went to Ivy League schools all of his life. Like, if your problem is the rich dude... That right there is the rich dude.
Right.
Who actually murdered somebody.
Yes, I agree. It's always backwards. They always screw it up. Like, look, you worship at the altar of George Floyd, but you do not know the workings of, oh, God, I'm trying to think of his.
The police officer?
Well, first off, it's all that. No, who was the 95-year-old black man who's has all the great teachings? I'm trying to think of it. I didn't get enough sleep last night.
Thomas Sowell?
Sowell, yeah. Right. You've turned George Floyd into a hero, but you don't like Thomas Sowell. That's fucked up. It's backwards.
Yep.
It's dumb.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or you don't even know who Thomas Sowell is, but you
probably the latter.
You worship George Floyd. So get your priorities straight, would you please?
Kind of cool. So I had to train for the El Camino Santiago over the summer, and I hiked all over Los Angeles. And
what's the El Camino Santiago?
It's like a Catholic pilgrimage in Spain. And so I had to walk a lot. And a lot of it I was by myself, which apparently there's like stalkers now on some of the hikes I was going on, which is creepy.
Oh,
that's
really?
why women should have guns, but that's another conversation for another day. And randomly, all over Los Angeles, there's like this kind of like street art that's pro Thomas Sowell.
Really?
That I was seeing around like Griffith Park, West Hollywood, Santa Monica, Malibu. And I just want to know, like, hit me up, whoever is doing that, because it was pretty clever and really catchy. And I was like, oh, hey, creative person that likes Thomas Sowell.
Oh, that's nice.
I thought that was cool.
All right, what else we got?
Final story is Hayley Williams. You know who that is? She's a front lady for Paramore. Says it's now
the band.
Yeah, the band Paramore. It's now a hard line for her that she will not be allowing anti-trans fans or Trump supporters and racists at her concerts anymore.
Well, I wasn't going anyway.
Well, I actually, after reading her direct quote, I think maybe I'm still included because she said, quote, I don't want racists around. I'm not a racist. She said, I don't want sexist people around. I also don't think I'm sexist. And she said, I don't want people here who think trans people are a burden. I don't think that we think trans people are a burden. We just think that they shouldn't be reading to our children and saying that they can become women.
It's all a weird narcissistic endeavor, which is to say, I don't care about trans people. I don't care about gay people. I don't care about anybody. Go do whatever you want to do, but please shut the fuck up about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to know about it. And I do not want it invading every ceremony, every graduation, every tree lighting. I don't want any
just
of it.
It can be just normal.
Right, but they won't do that because they can do it. And they're like kids, and they're having a fit, and they're having a tantrum. And the worst thing you can say to them is, look, I don't care. Do whatever you want. I'm not interested in you. But don't tell me about it. But then they tell you about it because they need to victimize themselves because it's all part of this weird narcissistic spiral they're in, including this dumb bitch. Well, like, who cares? And how do you even know who's racist?
When they buy a ticket, like, are you going to be doing a background check on everybody?
No.
So apparently, the first thought that popped into my head was, oh, are they like struggling to sell tickets and she's just doing this for like the small minority of people that are the loudest voices on this, right? To get the news. And then my second one was like, she's kind of hypocritical because she literally lives in one of the reddest states in the union, that is Tennessee. So it's like, okay, do as I say, not as I do. Like if you're this hardcore blue, move to LA or New York City and live under the regime in which you are telling everybody else is good.
Yeah, or if you're, Queers for Palestine,
go on over to Gaza.
Yeah, go on over to Gaza and preach, baby. Preach.
Good luck.
Yeah, they never do because they like the protections, they like the rules, they like the safety, they like all that is provided by the sane states in governing, but then they want to complain about it. Sort of reminds me of, what is that politician from Tennessee who was saying she hates the bridal showers and the?
Oh, she's running. Is she the lady, the blonde chick that looks kind of like a normal middle-aged mom, but she's really radical? I think she's running. Is she running for mayor?
She's running. No, not mayor, but like Congress or something. Okay. And wants to defund the police and burn the city to the ground and stuff. It's like, first off, when did you normal people get into this stuff? Like, I guess it's out of problems.
White women guilt.
It's a white woman guilt.
We've been told that we are systemically racist just because of the color of our skin and our privilege that we have as cisgender white women. And so therefore we have to do the Race to Dinner and the BLM riots and support Planned Parenthood and all these things that like the radical leftist version of feminism says is okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a weird way, it's like when you grow up like with a silver spoon in your mouth and then you have to adopt all these sort of radical thoughts that
like
show
the Luigi
people that,
Mangione.
Yes. I think there's a lot of that. Also, there's a devil makes work for idle hands situation, which is when you're busy just working. I mean, when people are just working to eat and to shelter, like,
get their kids to school.
Yeah, just like, real basic nuts and bolts. Like when I used to work, I just worked, man. And it was like a struggle just to work. And I didn't really, all these marches and, I'm going to knit a pink hat and put it on and go on the Million Woman March or something like, if somebody said, I said, where's the march? It's in Portland on Friday. I got to work. I got to go to work.
My mom used to tell me that all the time. Like we would pass some liberal protesters on some day and I'd be like, how are all those people there? And she's like, because they don't have jobs.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, National Day of Prayer, like around the flagpole in the morning, it's like a small group of really dedicated retirees because everybody else has a job.
Yeah. So I assume it's a lot of people that don't have a lot of problems because when you have actual problems.
You don't create problems.
You don't create problems. And this stuff, things like climate change, they're very first world kind of problems. They're very rich person problems. I mean, not that it exists anyway, but the point is if that's something that it does, when you're in Africa and you're burning dung to keep your hut warm, you just, sorry, not into the environment.
You don't even know about Greta Thunberg, like dyeing the Venice canals.
Right.
Like you're just trying to make it through the day.
Yeah, boy. What's she going to do next?
I don't know. I'm afraid maybe she's behind the Louvre. Those environmentalists like to just destroy art. Maybe they just decided to steal it.
Well, they just want to get your
KRAUSS conspiracy corner for the day.
They caught the Louvers, right?
They did. I think they caught like 4 and then they just arrested another 4. That's it. Back to the Luigi Mangione thing. People are like, oh my God, these guys are so hot. Like, who's going to be cast as them in the movie? Like, a couple of them were pretty good looking dudes in their mugshots that were released.
Well,
but like I would say that to you or my husband, I wouldn't go online advocating for them to be released from jail because I thought they were good looking.
If you're a second story man, you got to be in decent shape. You can't be a lard ass and get up that.
They had the thingy.
Yeah, but they have a 300-pound capacity. I remember seeing
Jules don't weigh that much.
Those buckets. I know, but the guy's a fat ass who won't be able to get over the top and bust us. You got to be nimble. I remember when I was a kid, I'd see those buckets that they lifted the telephone pole guy. I'd see on the sides a 300-pound capacity, and I'd be like, who's 300 pounds? No, now I'm like, oh, we got plenty of Americans.
Who isn't 300 pounds?
I heard for the first time today, I had to write it down. I heard that we have an obesity epidemic And we've now created a society where we have food insecurity and an obesity epidemic at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
We have no food and too much food living together at the same time.
Or is it possible that we just have unhealthy food and people with like self-control issues? Like the people that can get the unhealthy food are not food insecure and they have no self-control, which no judgment. I just ate some Ruffles out there before I came in here, but
nobody, they do this thing like, we shut the government for another week. We're going to lose SNAP benefits to 100 million. It's like, does anyone ever go hungry? Show me the bodies. I say, show me the hungry kids in America bodies. Show me the bodies. Show me the January 6 bodies. Show me the bodies. Everyone, you talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, but nothing ever comes out the other end. The government's going to close down. SNAP recipients were going to be thrown out in the streets. Kids were going to bed hungry. It never happens. It just doesn't. And also, people are resourceful. They find a way. Take away the food. They'll figure it. The things that
the leftists didn't want to address is that when those 42 million people didn't have their SNAP benefits, it was actually religious institutions that stepped up and did a better job of feeding those people than the government ever does. And like, there's no pathway out of that for them.
Yes.
Like that Star Parker, talks about this a lot. Like, you need a path. Mia Love, like, God bless her, like, would talk about it should be a temporary thing when the government provides that solution, not a long-term thing.
No. Who wants to get married to the government? It's horrible.
Maybe this trans rabbi in New York.
All right. A good note to go out on. I'm in Santa Barbara. That'll be at the Santa Barbara Comedy Club. That'll be this Friday. And then me and Jay Mohr in Corona coming up at the Dos Lagos Amphitheater. And then hitting Florida, man.
Ooh.
Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Fort Lauderdale again. Not sure why, but that's how it works. You can go to AdamCarolla.com for all the live shows. What do we got for you, Elisha KRAUSS? We got the op-ed for the Washington Examiner.
Yep.
We can check that out. Website, ElishaKRAUSS.com.
No more speeches this year. My fall tour is wrapped, so you'll have to wait for the spring, guys.
We will wait with bated breath. Also, TruBlu for Chris Hansen. Until next time, I'm Carolla for Elisha KRAUSS. And Chris Hansen saying, mahalo.